All right, hello everyone. Welcome to A Wearable World, Digital Fashion in a Post-Smartphone Future. My name is Lily Snyder. I am an immersive tech and Web3 writer and consultant where I've worked with brands to understand virtual fashion and digital goods and this new space that we're going in. So let me flip over to my slides. All right. So this talk is inspired by a mini guidebook that Kathy Hackle and I co-wrote together in anticipation of Apple's Vision Pro launch. We wanted to explore what our world will look like post-smartphone. So instead of carrying these little bricks around with us, what will the world look like when we have AR glasses? And specifically, how will that affect what we wear and our fashion sense? Creators will take on a new meaning, and clothes can become really anything. Of course, AR glasses themselves and the wearables we use are a style in of their own. This is an animated GIF of the Ray-Ban stories that were created with Meta. This quote is from their site, that Ray-Ban stories merge precise engineering with style. And as we move through the talk, we'll see how the wearables themselves are fashion sense. But before we get there, I wanted to go over a brief history of virtual fashion. So, of course, digital goods, virtual clothes have been around for much longer than 2019. But I feel like this was a key year for virtual fashion. And it kicked off when the Fabricant, which creates digital only clothing, sold the iridescent dress for $9,500. And I feel like that sparked many brands to take this space seriously and start designing virtual clothing. In 2020, Balenciaga created a virtual clothing line in Fortnite. In 2021, Nike acquired Artifact, which is RTKFT, the virtual shoes. In 2022, last year, we saw even more brands launching into the virtual fashion space, such as Ralph Lauren, who also created clothing in Fortnite. And the first virtual fashion week was held in Decentraland. And this year, virtual clothing is coming to our physical world, where Snap is partnering with Nike and Coca-Cola to launch augmented reality mirrors starting in the United States. And of course, during this time, we can see how software and hardware have come along to keep up with virtual clothing and how they worked hand in hand. So if we go back to 2019, you could already use Snapchat, Snap AR, to have augmented reality try-ons for sunglasses and eyeglasses and makeup. And they continue to add new clothing and shoes. In 2021, Meta and Ray-Ban collaborated to launch Ray-Ban Stories. Last year, Snap released their third generation of the Snap Spectacles. And of course, this year, we got the announcement that Apple is releasing their Vision Pro mixed reality headset. So hopefully what you can see through this timeline is that what we're creating with virtual clothing and the hardware and software being able to support that is all coming together, and our future is very exciting. All right, so I got my first digital shirt in 2021. I don't know if you guys can hear it on your computer, but the horses are galloping and you can hear the sound of their hoofbeats. The creator, Valentin Karabanov, created this shirt for me. And what I love about it is that it's not simply a digital shirt, but incorporates video and sound elements. And I think that's part of the exciting part of what virtual fashion has for us. It's not just what something will look like, but how it will incorporate all our senses and make us feel about ourselves on an even deeper level. Of course, the problem with this is it is difficult to share. I can only post it on social media, and I'm frozen in time. I do not have the technical ability to customize the shirt, to put myself in a different stance, or change it into something else. But as wearables come around, and then we can have that power to dress ourselves and have the clothing move with us instead of depending on someone who has the digital skills to digitally fit us. So this quote is from Michael Kors from the Wall Street Journal Future of Everything Festival. He was talking about social media and how it's influenced his designs and how he's come across other creators. He said social media is like a giant trunk show. And a trunk show is where designers will show off their collections or maybe small parts of new collections and learn about new people. And this inspired one of the chapters in our books, A Wearable World, called The World is a Runway. So I would like you to imagine that you are a fashion designer or a virtual creator, and you want to show off your latest collection. So you decide to digitally drop pieces in key cities around the world. Your first stop is New York City. You put on your AR glasses and pull up a live scene geometry of New York City. And using your fingers or asking your voice AI, you zoom into the fashion district. There you find an AR drop point and insert yourself into the scene. Your room turns into the skyscrapers and subway entrances. People walk around you on the sidewalk. And with a double blink, you start recording your scene. You tell everyone that you're live and that you're here for your latest drop. You can make a swiping motion and your shirt becomes alive. So people on the street also wearing AR glasses can see you and see your augmented shirt. Then you pull it out and above you it floats and stays there. You ask people to follow you, and if they do, they can try on the full virtual collection. And anyone walking by in the street with their AR glasses can collect the augmented shirt that you left there. So after New York, you head over to Tokyo, London, Paris, and Milan, and you add more drops. So now anytime someone selects your shirt, it becomes an object in their inventory, and they can wear it or even adapt it to their own design and function. The drop shirt is also linked, of course, to your digital boutique where people can shop the rest of your collection. So long gone are the days of creating virtual garments on our computers and having to make sure all the file formats fit, because with your AR glasses, you work on a 3D AR mannequin. You can buy design elements and embed features into your clothes. This is one of the possible futures that Kathy and I wrote about in A Wearable World. With the help of our AR glasses, we can not only transform our spaces and seamlessly interact between virtual and physical places, but we can become the new creators, and who knows where our collections will lead. All right. Of course, what was once seen as a most sophisticated technology eventually becomes tradition. This is a quote I found from Joni Ive, who was at Apple. And what he's referring to here is the metal needle. So if you think about it, we didn't always have needles and the mass production of clothing that we have today, or the easy ways to make it. And so when the metal needle was first invented, it was shocking and new. So even though what I described about airdropping your new virtual collections in cities around the world may seem like sci-fi or the distant future, the metal needle once was too. And so imagine what designing fashion pieces with Apple's Vision Pro could become. So let's take, for example, a dress. So our AR glasses can scan and automatically score its price, sustainability, and ethics metrics. Sorry about this. This is Brant, everybody. So you can see where the dress was made and the conditions of the workers who made it. Because shoppers are starting to move away from fast fashion and blatant consumerism. So with AR and virtual clothes, we can design with purpose. And companies should be prepared with digital version of their dress so that you can not only have a physical copy, but a virtual version of your dress, or just choose one or the other. I saw this yesterday with Tommy Hilfiger. They have a world in spatial and collaborated with Ready Player Me. So you can dress your Ready Player Me avatar in Tommy Hilfiger outfits. And in the spatial world, if you go shopping there, they have a special jacket that you can either get just the virtual version for €6, or you can also buy the physical one, which is $159. So we're already seeing brands start to think about how their clothing will work, not only for physical people, but also for virtual avatars. And then the next step, once we have wearables, will be how does that digital jacket fit on a physical person? All right. And then, of course, you can add to this the social element of who gets to see your virtual outfit. Is it anyone walking by on the street, or is it just for your closest friends? Okay. So Michael Kors, in the same Future of Everything Festival, said that fashion is about breaking the rules. And while I love this quote, in technology, you do kind of need some rules so that everyone knows the standards and ways to develop. We definitely see rule breakers in tech, and that's how we get innovation. But sometimes everyone needs to know what they're making. Right. So there's a lot of talk, especially when the Vision Pro was released, how many things you can do on it versus already with the Meta Quest, and what makes the Apple Vision Pro mixed reality headset different than the Quest headset, and we get hung up on the hardware. And of course, we don't want to get stuck in another kind of Apple versus Android moment where us Android users get scoffed at for messing up our iPhone users group chat. How the green message icon shows that someone on the other end doesn't fit in. We don't want our wearable headsets to create that same sort of culture of technology. And then what would that mean for our virtual outfits? If your message doesn't come across in the text because it's not an iMessage, does that mean that your virtual outfit might come across as pixelated or not at all? So it led me to think about what standards and ways of developing do we need for a wearable world in virtual fashion. So in a wearable world, we discussed some of what needs to come together to make any of this work in the first place. So your hardware, whether it's AR glasses or we're still using a headset, we'll need sensors, computer vision, game engine technology, and of course, artificial intelligence. And then as we create, do we want our worlds to be decentralized? We do want them to be open and buildable, like the World Wide Web. We're going to need localized spatial content and geopost locations so we can create digital twins of the physical world and have real-world, real-time maps, plus live spatial content and metadata, and being able to search spatially. So, and then of course we need the creators, because as we've seen with social media and in general with art and fashion, we are humans and we love to create and explore and make new things and come up with new designs. And so the creators will need to know what they're working with so they can break the rules on their end when it comes to fashion. As I was talking about this with an old colleague, Lee Keebler, who I worked with at Joni, and he said something to me that the standardization is in the engine. And this got me thinking, because instead of worrying about hardware and what Apple will allow versus what Meta will allow, it comes down to that gaming engine that we talked about in the past slide. So one example that Lee gave was Apple and the adoption of HTML5. So if you go back in time and remember that we used to have Flash on our websites, Flash videos and websites made in Flash, and no one uses Flash anymore. So Lee told me that the iPad is the main driver of HTML5, that Apple released this piece of hardware that they, with their own standards, and they forced that really on anyone who wanted to build on that piece of hardware. And so Apple stuck with HTML5 and stood over it. And then HTML5 probably would have eventually overtaken Flash anyways, but because of Apple and the iPad, that was fast-tracked. Because HTML5 also opened the gateway to web AR. If you remember, during the launch of Vision Pro, Apple mentioned that they are partnering with Unity. And Unity is one of the main game engines out there. So instead of worrying about developing specifically for the Vision Pro, people will be creating on the Unity game engine. And this opens up a lot for what we're going to be able to do with headsets, because with the Unity integration on the Vision Pro, you can reverse engineer your game or your creation to fit the user interface of the Vision Pro. So what we're looking at here isn't what the hardware dictates, but what the game engine allows, and then the user interface. So this led me to look at, we have a couple different engines out there. So I found this quote about Unity, that they want to be the 3D operating system of the world. And isn't that what we're going for with wearables and our fashion, digital outfits and virtual clothes? So you can see that Meta used to use Unity until 2019. Or 2021, they switched over to Unreal. The Apple Vision Pro uses Unity. The HoloLens, you can use Unity, Unreal, and even OpenXR. Snap has their own spatial engine, but they're starting to partner and work with other engines to not be behind such a walled garden, and they can open up for their creators. And the Sony PS5 uses Unreal, and they have their own VR. But what this shows is that you can't have a standard out there that doesn't really have influence over a piece of hardware. So for example, OpenXR is created by Kronos Group to set standards for creating augmented reality and mixed reality, but they have no headset. So really it's up to Meta or Apple to pick the game engine that they want to work with. So as we move to making virtual fashion a reality, creators have to think about the game engine they want to design on, and then the user interface standards for those different hardwares that they want to be seen with. Right. So that is the end of my talk. Thanks for bearing with me and my kiddo. You can read A Wearable World at wearableworld.com for free. You can reach out to me at Lilyotron, and my email's there too. I look forward to seeing your creations or hearing what you think about A Wearable World. Right. Thank you.